Hey everyone, Unmar here. I know we've seen some amazing game art in our video games and wondered, man, how the hell do they do that? How do they go from a 2D sketch to something fully playable in-engine? Well, today I'm going to break down the entire game art pipeline in under, hopefully 8 minutes. I'm a 3D artist and technical account manager at Epic Games, and I've been working across various industries for over 15 years. I've been helping studios, teaching 3D artists all over the world. Whether you're using Maya, Blender, ZBrush, Substance Painter, or Unreal, this workflow applies to all of them. So with that, let's go. Concept art and reference. It all starts with the concept. This could be an illustration, a blockout, or even just a few solid reference images. Even AI has proven to be a great tool for concept and idea generation, not concept art replacement, but definitely for getting the ideas flowing. Once you have the idea, the next thing that matters is clarity. You need to know exactly what you're making and why. Don't guess your way through the model. Narrow your focus and build with purpose from the start. Blockout. Next is the blockout. Simple geometry for form and proportions. A lot of people want to skip this part and jump straight into the detail modeling, but I cannot understate how important this step is. This is where you define scale, proportion, and the silhouette. No fine details, just making sure that the main shape reads clearly from all angles. The key thing here is that this is a stage where you can make big changes to the form without having to redo a ton of work later. I recently went through this on the model for my AGL long coat. The grip was just too small because I was using a mishmash of references. Thankfully, I caught the issue early during the blockout phase. This allowed me to adjust the proportion, and it saved me a ton of time without having to redo all of the detail work like seams, stitching, paneling, so on and so forth. Now, once everything feels right on the blockout, you have a solid foundation for everything else that follows. So don't rush this part. High poly. In most cases, a high poly to low poly workflow is used. This is where you can create a high poly detail model, then bake that information down into texture maps for a lower poly model that's optimized for real time. This could be done with all sorts of modeling techniques like sub-D modeling, sculpting, or even CAD tools. A high poly is almost always required. If it's stylized, sometimes you can skip this step, but as always, it depends on the art style. Low poly and Retopo. Now it's time to create the actual low poly game mesh. This means optimizing the base model, which could involve retopology, simplifying your sub-D mid-base, or even decimating the model in some cases. Now, I get this question all the time. How low is low poly? And of course, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. It depends on the context. Is the target hardware going to be a mobile game, console? Will this be a background asset or a hero asset? It all changes the final poly count. But one thing stays true, it's the silhouette that matters the most. Keep the shape clean and avoid excess or unnecessary edges. Quick note on topology with the age-old debate. Quads versus tris. Here's a simple rule of thumb. If the mesh deforms like a character's face, body, or clothing, use quads. If it's rigid like a weapon or prop, even if it animates, tris are totally fine. Remember, when the model goes into the game engine, it gets triangulated anyway. But the same rules still apply. You need clean topologies in area where deformation happens. UV unwrapping. Once the model is ready, it needs UVs. UV mapping is where you take a 3D model in the XYZ coordinate system and convert it to a 2D coordinate system, so you can apply those 2D texture maps. You want clean UV shells, good texel density, and logical cuts that prevent distortion. Straighten your UVs where you can and avoid unnecessary stretching or squashing of UV shells. Now, on the topic of UVs, some workflow involve baked lighting, so a secondary UV set for light maps might be needed, and this depends on the project. Texture baking. This is where high poly meets the low. We bake things like normal maps, ambient occlusion, curvature, and more using powerful tools like Substance Painter, Marmoset Toolbag, Mari, or Mixer. If your bake looks off, it's probably because the low poly doesn't match the high poly silhouette. Matching your silhouette more closely and beveling key edges are sometimes the best way to get clean, artifact-free bakes. I've got an entire video on tips for baking, so definitely check that out if you want to go deeper. Texturing. I use tools like Substance Painter, where I can layer up materials. I start with the base values, then add wear, dirt, grunge, custom masks, procedurals, all to tell a story of the asset. That's really what's important here. It's about the storytelling. Don't just throw random grunge generators and call it done. Ask yourself, was it dropped, scratched, weathered by rain, sand, or heat, tell that story through the textures. And what's great here is that the procedural maps that we baked earlier allows us to easily iterate, reuse, and modify. Once we finish the texture process, we output the texture maps using a PBR workflow, physically based rendering, to make sure that the textures look correct across any real-time or offline render. This usually includes maps like base color, roughness, metallic, normal, height, ambient occlusion. It's one texture set that's compatible everywhere. Are you tired of buying tutorial after tutorial, hoping the next one's going to unlock your 3D modeling skills? Well, I'm here to get you out of that loop. I'm Anwar Mohammed, and I'm currently working as a 3D artist and technical artist at Epic Games. Let's talk about how to create panels for your 3D models. The one thing that kind of excites me the most is letting the sub-D do the work. The distribution of edges is same throughout the entire model. And this is going to show you where you have these non-planar faces. This course isn't a one and done thing. I'm going to continue to evolve it with your feedback. So ready to finally take your skills to the next level? Enroll now, and I'll see you there. Rigging and animation. If the model needs to move, it needs a rig. That means joints, bones, skinning, and weight painting. And again, if the model deforms, like a face, arms, or claw, clean quad-based topology is critical. I know I brought it up earlier in the video, but it's worth stating again, is that even though the engine converts everything into triangles on import, it's the quads that make the deformation work smoothly. Engine integration. Now we bring the assets into the engine, like Unreal Engine. This is where I do look development, testing the model and textures with custom Unreal Engine material and lighting setup, making sure that the model holds up in real time and not just in the modeling or texturing app. This is all about how the asset behaves in context, under the actual lighting, with the right camera angles, and in motion. Optimization and polish. This is where a lot of people stop, but don't. Use your engine's profiling tools. Check the wireframe, overdraw, triangle count. If an edge loop doesn't help the form or silhouette, you can remove it. If the shader is too complex, simplify it. Avoid things like long, thin triangles. Real-time engines hate that because they only have a few pixels to render across the faces, and so long, thin triangles cause these artifacts. Now, ideally, you should start with a target specification in mind. What's the resolution, frame rate, or minimum hardware? For example, you're given the specifications that we need to hit 60 FPS at 1440p resolution on a RTX 3090. That becomes your benchmark. Now, I will say this, I know many games that have shipped recently feel unoptimized, but that's not always about the 3D assets alone. It could be things like shaders, lighting, physics calculations. All of that has a massive impact on performance. I'll be talking more about optimization and profiling in future videos, so stay tuned. And just remember, at the end of the day, the engine really doesn't care how pretty your mesh is, it just cares how many frames it can render per second. And there you go, the full game art pipeline, from concept to in-game in under probably 10 minutes. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably want to learn the game art process. So just do what I did in the video a few hundred times and you'll be on your way to becoming a pro. But if you want a faster way to learn, be sure to check out the course I'll be releasing this summer. I'll be teaching everything step by step, and you'll be joining hundreds of other artists that have joined this community to learn 3D art. They've already started with my Topology Masterclass. So if you want to learn modeling fundamentals, be sure to check out that course. Links in the description. By the way, if you like this shirt that says Still Rendering, it's made by Nicolo from Seamless. I'll put a link in the description if you want to pick up his merch. He sent this to me and I absolutely loved it. It's a really awesome shirt. Now don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you found this helpful. Did I miss anything? I'm sure you'll let me know. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.